been on for 3 weeks now, and we've done quite a number of things. I was supposed to start like 8 o'clock. Apologies, the self leadership class for preteens and teens took more than we planned. And here we are here now. And if you are just joining us for the first time, my name is Enime Orebo, and this is a parenting channel brought to you by the Visionary Parent Academy. We have a challenge ongoing, the Understanding Your Child's Challenge. It's going to be 30 days activities, 30 days, different topics on how to understand your child. We've treated temperament, we've treated developmental stages and emotions. Today is all about how your child learns, your child's learning style. That is what we are taking today. So let's look at learning style. What is learning style? Anytime you join this video, what you want to do is to go back, watch it from the beginning, and you want to leave a comment, you want to share, because this is a free masterclass for you from the Visionary Parent Academy, where parents come together, they set their goals, they get empowered. It's an academy where parents actually learn how to achieve their parenting vision, how to smash their parenting goals. So today is all about how your child learns. Let me start by learning style. What is your learning style? What is your child's learning style? Your child's learning style simply means the way your child processes information, whether in the classroom, away from the classroom. The way a child processes information is simply the child's learning style. As an adult, the way you process information is your own learning style. I remember some time ago, back when we were still in Lagos, and my children's school, they had a class and they invited a coach to come and talk to us about a certain topic. And while the woman was on stage talking, she said to us, please don't write it down, don't take notes. I'm going to share my slide with you. And so I remember the woman sitting beside me, turning to me and was asking, how does, and the woman said, you're taking notes, it's going to distract me, so don't worry, I'm going to share my slide with you. And then the woman sitting beside me turned to me and was like, how does my taking notes down here? Because the school have a platform. So the woman, she stood on the platform and she was like high above there. And the woman was like, how does my taking notes down here distract the person up there? It didn't make sense to the woman. I actually smiled. I told her, well, actually it depends on how we learn individually. Some people, they are the read and write kind of learners. For me, for example, I write down. If I do not write down, it's almost as if I'm not learning. Nah, that is me. If I don't write down, I may not necessarily go back to what I've written down. That is the funny thing. I may not go back to what I've written down to say, okay, I want to read it. But once I've written it down, it stays way longer than if I didn't write it down. Even if I look at it, I listen to it over and over again. But once I have it written down, I remember it faster. So it is for some people. Like for the woman, I would say that is not her strength. She doesn't. Maybe she's an auditory learner, kind of, and so writing down is actually going to distract her, like she said. That is it. So your child's learning style is how your child processes information. And funny enough, we've had different debates asking, does it actually make any difference? The way a child learns, does it actually make any difference? Does it? We've had that debate over and over again. If you go read about researches on learning style, we see that debate that some psychologists believe that it doesn't make any difference. Now, the truth of the matter is, like I always say to parents, now every child has a bit of all the learning styles. That is one. Number two, it is not only about how your child learns, it actually affects your child's ability to learn or to follow instructions. There are other things that come to play in it. And thirdly, when we talk about a child learning style, there are some information that just come naturally, and they come in such a way that your child is already able to grab them and run with them. So learning style has to come to play when a child is really struggling. You realize that the child is struggling so much with a particular subject. That is when learning style comes handy. So because when a child is struggling, you have to start looking for every single possible way, strategies you can use to teach the child. That is when learning style come handy, and learning styles come handy. Before the truth, because the truth is, learning styles really applying learning styles to meet individual child may not really so come so realistic, especially in the classroom, for example, where a teacher has up to 20, 30 children in the classroom. It may not be so okay, this particular child, this is how you learn best, let me start employing this method. However, there are things a class teacher can do, and every child will be carried along. All the learning styles will be infused in it, and everyone will be carried along. Now, when it comes to learning styles, there are different models to it. There are different models to it. It is one thing. We have the common one, which is the VARK. Yes, VARK. That's where we talk about the visual learners. V is the visual learners, A is the auditory learners, the R is the read and write learners, and we have the K, which is the kinesthetic learner. I know that everyone listening to me will have an idea. Visual learner, from vision, children who learn better by seeing things. Auditory learners, auditory, like listening, children who learn better by listening. We have the kinesthetic learner, from motion, movement, people who learn better by movement, motion, or having their hands on. And of course, we have read and write learner, people who learn better by having their hands on. These are the four models under the VARK. Now, the truth of the matter is, see, every child who learns by auditory, every auditory learner, we also learn by, because when they see the picture, most times they are seeing the pictures, they are also hearing the thing talk, right? They will also learn. In the classroom, they will also learn while the teacher is teaching, they will also learn. Read and write, they write every day in the classroom. They read, they are expected to read, so they will also learn. They will also have the kinesthetic learner, where it comes to hands-on, motion. So now, if a teacher is able to infuse these four learning styles into the classroom, the children is going to cover everyone's own. It is why I said that there's a debate whether learning style matters or it doesn't matter. But one thing I've come to realize is that there are a lot more to a child learning than just the learning style. And this is where other models away from the VARK actually comes handy. Let's look at another one. There's another model that is another model of learning, the Gardner's multiple intelligence, talking about linguistic intelligence, logical, mathematical intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, spatial intelligence, musical intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, naturalistic intelligence. These are, I don't know, I was talking to a parent earlier today. I don't remember. I was saying that the child may be that kind of a child that is an interpersonal learner. Those children that when they are with other people, they learn better, because again, I was talking about there are so many other things that come to play when it comes to a child learning. One of them is association. Generally, humans will learn by association. You associate sound with what you are hearing, visions with what you are hearing, touch with what you are hearing. So that is it. So there are some people that only associate what they are hearing with the people around them. Someone says something, it's easier for them to remember, especially if that person that is saying that thing means something to them. That person represents something in their lives. So it is easier for them to remember that thing that person has said. Not necessarily because the person has painted a picture, not necessarily because the person has said it, they heard it, but actually because that person represents something, represents a figure. I have a friend who always refer to, oh, my mentor once said, my mentor said, my mentor said, my mentor said. She remembers what her mentor said compared to what a lot of other people said. Why? Because that her mentor represents a figure, represents something in her life. So that is the Gardner's model of learning styles. We also have the Cobb's experimental learning theory. We have the concrete experiment experience. We have the reflective observations. We have the abstract conceptualization. We have the active experimentation. We have the Honey Mumford learning styles, also the activists, the reflectors, the theories, the pragmatic. We have the Felder Silverman learning styles model. We have the active versus the reflective learners, the sensitive versus the intuitive learners, the visual versus the verbal learners, the sequential versus the global learners. We have the done and done learning models also, the environmental preferences, the emotional preferences, the sociological preferences, the psychological, physiological preferences, and the psychological preferences. Now, these are the different models of learning styles. However, the most popular one is the VAC, the visual, auditory, read and write, and the kinesthetic learners. Now, the truth of the matter is, because I was very active in the classroom for a very long time, and I know for a fact that there are so many, even those VAC models can be broken down into more detailed, that kind of contain in all these other learning styles. For example, I always say to teachers, whenever I am privileged to talk to teachers about learning, I know that there are even some children, they are the kind of reflective learners, they come up with questions a million and one times, and you are pissed, you are upset, I bet you are asking too many questions. Or I tell them that, see, there are some children that ask you questions you believe they already know, and you feel they already know. You ask them the question. If you throw the question back to them, they can answer you accurately. But they come up and ask you that question, and you are wondering, why do you like to disturb me? What kind of question is this? The truth of the matter is, like I told you, that humans probably learn by association. We learn by association. That child may be primarily a reflective learner. So what they do is, they throw the question, they give you the question, not really because they don't know it yet. When you answer them, it that kind of they kind of reflect on it. That's why they are asking you back, and by the time you give them the answer, they've associated your answering with the answer you've given them. That is how they learn. So there are different ways a child actually learns and it sticks in. Like I said, one thing that happens is, when a child is struggling so much with a particular subject, what the teachers want to do, what the parents want to do, they want to now see how they can help the child understand that subject by exploring a great deal of strategies. Now, this is where learning styles actually come in. Now, I have a video here on this channel already that really talks about learning, how to help a struggling learner. You want to check that video out and get all you can get about learning, because that video is super comprehensive when it comes to learning for your children. Now, one thing that I've also realized is that one thing that you should know is that every child, every human being is kind of connected. We are all connected. I don't know if that's what I'm looking for. No, not connected. That's not what I'm looking for. As an individual, you have traits. Your traits are kind of very connected. Your traits are very connected as a human being. For example, they come together to define who you are. You have your temperament, your learning style, your love language. They are all connected. If you understand your child's temperament very well, holistically, or if I may use that word, it's easy for you to understand your child's learning style. That is one thing. Not because you want to put a label to the child's learning style. It should be easy for you to understand how your child learns. Let me give you a practical example. We know we have the sanguine children who are high in energy, who don't like to sit in one place, and who are very easily distracted. So what does that tell you? If you have a child like that who is very easily distracted, it simply means that your child will not be able to stay long for a very long time to read, to learn. It simply means that that child will not want to sit down in one place for a very long time to read. And those people, just kind of temperament, they love interaction, they love people, meeting people. So it simply means that that child may also be an interpersonal learner. That child kind of wants to learn in an environment that is not quiet. They will not be able to learn in a very quiet environment. They want to have interactions. When they're having interactions, they're associating their learning with their interactions. So it's easy like that for you to grab that. You know, they are easily distracted. It simply means that because they are easily distracted, they are not ones to stay in the classroom for 45 minutes, for 1 hour learning. Of course, age has a factor in age has a role to play in it. They are not the ones to stay in the classroom for 45 minutes, for 1 hour, for 2 hours learning. You should get that already from how your child learns. Let's look at the phlegmatic child, for example. If you have a child who is a phlegmatic, which means they love their comfort zone, they will not readily, even though they are persevering, they will not readily go for the very difficult task. They will not readily go for the very difficult issues. They want things that are easy, peaceful, because peace and ease is their innate trait. So they want things that are very easy and very peaceful. What does that tell you? It simply means that your child, for you to be able to teach that your child, or for that your child to be able to learn, your child needs attention. You need to have it broken down, simplified to the simplest form. I saw one here under I don't know which of the models now, that talks about sequential learning. Under one of the models now that talks about sequential learning. Yes, it's in the Felder-Silverman model, talks about sequential learning. That tells you that your phlegmatic child may be a sequential learner. What does that mean? They are not the kind of children that will just, like your choleric child, they are capable of, even if you don't break things down, except you want to show them proof, even if they're capable of understanding things in whole, concept in whole. But when it comes to your phlegmatic child, you need to break it down in such a manner that, because naturally they love ease, so they have the capacity to do amazing, to learn the whole, but they love ease, things that are very easy. So it simply means that you are going to take your time to break it down. So it simply means that if you come to the classroom and we are just teaching them, let's say long division, for example, without having to break them down, like teaching them the breakdown to the barest for them, they are going to struggle with it. When some children can grab it and run with it, except they are naturally gifted, they are going to struggle a bit with it. So it is why it is very important, and the very first thing you want to do is to understand your child's learning style. You must understand your child's temperament. It comes very easy. So like I told you, it's not about the different learning models or different learning styles, really. It's about how they are innately wired. How they are innately wired will help you understand how they learn. I use the example of the the sanguine, for example, who is very high in energy. What do you expect? Someone who is very high in energy, it simply means that they are likely not going to stay seated in one place to learn, which simply means that they are likely going to be more of the hands-on learner. They are likely going to be more of the interpersonal learner. They are likely more going to be one of the interpersonal learner, hands-on learner, because of how they are naturally wired. So if you have a classroom, if you are a teacher, you want to teach, or you are a parent, you have a child who is struggling with a particular subject, because the truth of the matter is, there are some areas that naturally interest us. Even your child will have areas that naturally interest them. So such areas that naturally interest them may not be a struggle to them to learn. They may not be a struggle, because we have children who are gifted. We have children who are gifted in mathematics, in science. So if you have children gifted in a particular area, it simply means that those areas your children are gifted in may not even be a struggle at all. But you see, the areas they naturally struggle with, that is when you need to find how to reach them. And if your child struggles generally, they struggle, then you need to understand, why are they struggling? If you understand, okay, they are struggling because of they don't understand it takes them time to understand. That way, you want to sit back and begin to look at, how do I use their learning style? How do I use their personality and their learning style to teach them? If they are really struggling with understanding, because every child doesn't struggle with understanding. There are different stages in a child being able to, should I say, there are different stages in a child being able to understand and produce, yes, answer correctly. There are different stages in the child being able to pass exam, whether by by way of following instructions, or actually being able to write exam. When I say exam now, test, I mean being able to produce, deliver on what they have learned. There are different stages. There are some that they struggle because they do not understand from the word go. You are teaching is like abstract to them. So for those children, you may want to like, okay, how do I make this child understand? Learning style can come handy. There are some children, okay, they understand, but they don't remember because it has not formed, it has not etched, let me use the word, so they may not remember. So there are other things you need to come into play to say, okay, this is what we are going to do to help this child remember more. And there are some children that they understand, they remember. When it comes to recall, oh my gosh, they easily don't recall, because even though they remember, even though they are supposed to remember, maybe during the period of recall they are distracted, or they are distracted either physically or mentally. So recall will be a struggle. So you need to understand all of that. So if your child is struggling, primarily they are struggling with understanding, yes, that is why when their learning style will definitely come to play. And like I said, a child's learning style has something to do with a child's temperament. You can't take a child's temperament away from a child's learning style. So you want to understand your child's temperament and understand how your child learns. If your child is high in energy, very high in energy, they don't stay seated, you want to understand how they learn better. You know that with that kind of a child, the traditional classroom will not work. One of the things I say to teachers is that you can infuse everything. You can infuse the 4 VAC model into your classroom teaching, into your classroom experience to meet your child's learning style. You can use visual representation, even if it's a literacy you are teaching. You can make it, you can use adjectives, you can use adverbs, you can paint, you can use figure of speech. Paint your story in such a manner that the child is literally seeing it. I want to describe something. I tell when I'm teaching my children to write story, I say make it as vivid as possible. You describe the man, the skinny, the lanky tall, the lanky man wearing a green shirt, a purple shirt, bent over, papa's cap. You can literally see the picture. That is for visual learners. You describe it in such a manner that they can, even if they are not seeing the person physically, they can almost see the picture. They can create the picture. So you have them to create that picture. They can draw it from just what you have described in your book. They can draw that person, and it is going to almost or match that same person that they are drawing. It's going to match that person that you have described, because you are very, very vivid. Because you are very vivid in your description. So that is it. In the classroom, teachers can combine the entire 4 VAC models. They can combine the visual method, the kinesthetic, because I don't understand why. I remember back then in the classroom, a teacher said to me, you are always dancing in the classroom. I said, that is how children learn, even though I was teaching them manners and etiquette. But I always had to demonstrate. I always had to move. That is how they learn. And like I said, children learn by association. Even adults, we learn by association. Recently, my kids were just learning, language training. It was easy for me to learn 1 to 10, because at the center of 1 to 10 is the same. I already know Isen. I've known Isen. So associating that Isen I already knew with the Isen we are learning, it became easy. So I could just learn 1 to 5. I broke it down, learn 1 to 5 again. I broke it down, and of course I had it written down. So it became easy because I already had something existing to associate it with. So 1 to 10 was super easy for me. After 1 to 10, 1 to 20, 10 to 20, then to 100. When my kids can already read from 1 to 100. I'm still struggling with the other ones that are totally new altogether, because there's really nothing for me to associate them with, except I have to now consciously sit down and drill myself before I can grab it. That is what it is for your child. So I say to teachers, you don't sit there in the classroom, we are teaching, you sit down. When I go to class, I see teachers sitting down, I'm wondering, your child will not learn it. It's not rocket science, the child will not learn. You sit down, you are all relaxed. Excuse you, you have children of different learning abilities and different learning styles. They will not learn by you just sit down. So you have to give them vivid explanation for the child who is the visual learner. Even if you are teaching them what a verb is, even if you are teaching them what a verb is, you have to make it as vivid as possible. They are going to grab it. Then you have to stand up. You have to demonstrate. A verb is an action word. What is an action word? A doing word. I realize that very many children, for example, ask them what a verb is, what an adjective is. They memorize them. At the end of the day, they cannot give you an example because they did not understand it in the first place. Now, these are topics teacher can actually demonstrate. You can sit down, they can be hands on it. Yes, even in verb, they can be hands on. You are describing it. You say, okay, this child A, pick this thing, give it to child B. What are you doing? You are giving. You are giving. That giving is a verb. It's an action. Giving, the act of giving is an action. Okay, what other actions do we have? Standing. They stand up. They are moving. For your kinesthetic learner, that standing is an action word. You are moving. Okay, it's time to eat. You are eating. You are doing something, acting. That is what we call a verb, acting. So everybody acts. Eat, that is a verb. Write, that is a verb. Looking is something you are doing also. That is a verb. Talking, that is a verb. That is how you are learning. You are learning. The hands-on learners, the kinesthetic learners, they are learning because there is movement involved. And really, there is no child that will not learn when there is movement involved. There is no child that will not learn when you are speaking the language they actually understand. There is no child that will not, because you are painting the picture, you are moving about. So for a teacher, if you're a teacher watching this, you have no business sitting there in the classroom. Nah, you have absolutely no business sitting down. Teaching is a very stressful career. It's a very stressful profession. I don't know why they don't appreciate them a lot. We don't appreciate them a lot. We don't pay them. I remember one time I was in the market buying something, and there was a woman near me that wanted to buy something. It was fish back then in Lagos, and the seller of the fish was telling me, "I better come up for here, teacher like you." I was so like, "Are you kidding me? Teacher like you? Really? Who? Gosh!" I felt so bad for a teacher. I was not like, so because she's bargaining, because she's a teacher, you feel teacher is not a way of insult, to insult someone and say teacher like you. I don't know why we don't, because it takes a lot. I'm sure if teachers are paid enough, they'll be able to bring out the best they have in them to teach. So no teacher has a right. You don't have any business sitting down, really. You don't have any business. You must have your body movement of your body must be there. Visual, be able to create a visual representation of what the children are learning. Be able to say it in such a way that use rhymes, use poem, play with words, and they are going to learn. Like I said, there are some topics that we are naturally interested in. As people, we are naturally interested in topics. For example, I'm naturally interested in parenting. I took a hard look at my life and I realized I've been interested in parenting for a very long time. I've been interested in behaviors for a very long time. Even before I got into the university, I was already interested in behaviors, human behaviors. So for those kind of topic, I'm naturally interested in. So when you are teaching me, my ears can just be at alert. I'll just grab anything. I'll grab everything I can grab. But for topics that they don't really catch your interest like that. There are different ways a child can actually learn. Like I mentioned, my friend who always talk about my mentor, so it's easier for her to learn whatever her mentor says. She takes it and she runs with it. Why? Because of she has the respect for her mentor. So it's easy for her to just associate whatever the mentor says, associate it with her with the mentor, and she takes it and she runs with it. So there is always a way a child can learn away from, like I said, there's still a debate whether learning styles actually matters in the classroom or doesn't matter. But for me, I know that there is always a way a child can learn, because we learn by association. So what you want to do as a parent, you want to pay attention to how your child learns. You want to actually pay attention to how your child teaches you. You want to pay attention to your child's temperament. It is very, very important. Understanding your child's temperament to help you understand your child's love language, understand your child learning style, and understand the basic things you need to understand. Another one way to understand how your child learns is by understanding how your child teaches you. Like I started by giving an example of the woman that came to have a talk with us in my children's school back then in Lagos, and she said to us, don't write, so your writing is going to distract me. And the woman close to me was wondering, how does my writing down here distract her up there? It is how she learns. It is how she learns. So, excuse me. It is how she learns, she actually learns by listening. So she actually felt that, okay, if she learns by listening, everyone else that is talking and writing is not paying attention. But the truth of the matter is, people learn differently. I have 3 amazing kids, and I can tell you they learn differently. Like my son, for example, learning style is a lot. You need to just, I don't want to keep talking about it because I have done a lot of videos on learning style in this channel. Go and check channels and get learning style done. Like my older son, for example, he learns better through storytelling, not necessarily auditory. Not auditory. Not because he is not an auditory learner. Not because he's an auditory learner, he learns through storytelling, but because there are other ways. Like I told you, they have different models. We have about 6 models, different models. We have the Cobb's model, we have the Gardner, we have the VAC, we have about 6 different models. More than that, we have the Honey and Monfils, we have the Feldner and Silverman. About 6 different models of learning. If you look at it, you break it down, you realize that, see, everyone just has one thing that kind of works for them. So it is why I don't always rely so much on the VAC, because there are so many areas the VAC really doesn't capture, and it is why there's a debate whether learning style is valid or is not valid. Like my older son, he learns through storytelling. If you can infuse story into what he's doing, it's not just my older son. I remember back then in university, I had a friend, and she's still my friend. I have a friend, and the funny thing, the lecturer will come and teach us everything. I had a lecturer there that used to use a lot of stories, his personal life stories, and to teach us. At the end of the day, my dear friend will write exam. She will not remember the important concept in psychology. She will remember every single story the lecturer told her, and that is what she will put down. Every single thing the lecturer told her about the story about is what she will put down. And I know that she will not get it, because most times the lecturer was just like to talk. The lecturer will not relate the story with his life. He will just from nowhere just bring his life into the story and be saying it, and it will be unrelated. So if you have someone like that, so what do you want to do? You want to see how you can use whatever you want them to learn to form stories, to talk about it, relate it, and to be easy for them to understand. Like I said, we have a whole lot of learning style in this channel. Just go back and go check them out and watch them and you are going to be highly empowered. One thing I wanted to take away from here is understanding your child's temperament should be at the top of your priority as a parent, because when you understand your child's temperament, it's easy for you to understand every other thing, your child's behavior, your child learning styles, your child love language, and every single thing, your child motivation also, and every single thing you need to understand about your child. That is what understanding your child's temperament does for you. Okay, I didn't see a lot of people watch me, so I'll just stop here so that I don't keep talking to myself. Hopefully, we'll go back to the group and ask our questions and have our questions answered. And then you can also go back to the channel, watch more videos on your child learning style. And yes, you are going to get empowered. Bye for now.